All right, now that all the council members are present, I call to order the August 2nd meeting of the City of West Sacramento City Council, West Sacramento Redevelopment Agency, and Finance Authority. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we live, work, learn, and commune is the original homelands of the indigenous people of West Sacramento who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We acknowledge and we thank the original inhabitants who have occupied, maintained, and secured this place and who still exist on this land. We respect and celebrate the many diverse indigenous peoples still connected to this land on which we gather. The council met on closed session this evening on the items on the agenda. Mr. City Attorney, please provide a report.
The council met on the labor negotiating items on the agenda. No reportable action was taken. Council did not meet on the other item on the agenda.
Thank you so much. And we would like to invite our guests to join council and staff in the pledge, which will be led by Mr. Rick Hart. Please come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, one nation, republic, one nation, justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. As is noted on our agenda, City Council is prohibited by state law from discussing or taking any action on items that are brought up under item 1 for public comment, but it provides an important opportunity for a public forum. The public is given an opportunity at this time to address City Council on issues not listed on the agenda. And we do ask that anyone wishing to address the council on this or any other item this evening, please fill out a request to speak card, which is located there on the side. And at the conclusion of the reading of the staff report, please make sure that request to speak card is provided to our clerk before that time and list the item that you would like to speak on. And once the staff report has been read, we will then open the item for public comment, and the clerk will announce your name for you to walk to the podium to speak. And now in front of the clerk, there is a timer to ensure that everyone has a chance to be heard, and we ask that all comments be limited to 3 minutes. Also in front of the clerk is an analog flip chart which indicates which agenda item the council is currently considering. We also recognize that for some, speaking in public can cause anxiety, so we request that there be no applause or boos, catcalls, or other demonstrations. Furthermore, so that we may maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers, we ask that those in attendance and those who address the City Council abide by the code of conduct posted and not speak in loud, threatening, offensive, abusive, or other disrespectful language that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. Now this brings us to item 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the council, and each person has 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Our first speaker is Guy Stevenson.
After talking to a few people, over the last few days, I hear that Aaron, and I don't have anything personal against him, believe me, when you guys are talking about giving him a bonus, I have a question. Why don't you give some of these other department people, like Public Works and all these people, during the storm? I watched these people, and I watched them clean these drains, and they do a good job, generally do a good job. They're good people, but why does it seem like some people get bonuses and these incentives, but during the pandemic and during other events where the storms were taking down trees, these people are out there moving signs, they were moving trees. Why don't you give them bonuses? Why don't you give them perks? It doesn't make any sense. I look at it this way. If a person does a good job, then you should give them an incentive for their good work because it's good for the morale. It's good for a whole slew of things, and it makes them like their job, and they don't quit their job. Because I did some research, and yet West Sac is probably pays on the scale of like Roseville, Sacramento, even Arbuckle, or how about Solano? They're all below. This city is below pay than those other cities, and it don't make any sense. And I'm addressing that to you, Mayor, because I respect you. I'm not really a big fan of other city council people in here. Hate to say it, but I am a big fan of you. I just want you to hear what I'm saying to you, because I think it's important that if you give this guy, and I don't disagree with him, he's a good man, he's got a lot on his plate. Maybe he does need a bonus, but I'm asking you to acknowledge these people that are out there during the storm. And I mean, they were working hard. I know, I drove through it, so I see them. When it was pouring down rain and the winds were 100 miles an hour. You can agree to disagree, that's fine. I'm not here on feelings. I'm not sensitive to anything that people's opinion about me. I already had that happen already, where they say I have an opinion, which I do. And if they don't like it, that's fine. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to address issues that are important to me and important the way I want to address them to you. Thank you very much. Ladies, have a great night. Take care of yourself, Aaron.
Thank you, appreciate your comments. I also suggest you consult with staff about that information if you'd like to learn more about it.
Abdul Hussein Idalauti.
Hello, good evening. Hope you're all doing well tonight. I'm a coach with West Sac Soccer Club. You all know me. For those of the audience who don't, wanted to introduce the club is the kind of home for soccer, recreational, competitive for youth players in the city. My comment, I just wanted to remind again that our club has a fundraiser on August 26th, and we'd like to invite everyone, the public, members of the council, to attend. It's going to be Saturday, August 26th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll have a dunk tank. You'll get to dunk coaches, referees, maybe me. There'll be a kickathon. There's a lot of prizes that are in the range of $50 to $500 that have been made possible from a lot of businesses in the community. And we really also appreciate the city for waiving the permit, Parks and Recs for waiving the permit fees, and for helping us with the event. I also wanted to just announce that one of the newest projects with the club is we are trying to bring a semi-professional team to the city. So we've submitted an application to the United Premier Soccer League to join them. It's kind of like the 4th or 5th tier of the U.S. soccer pyramid. So that team should be kicking off in the spring. Besides that, looking forward to working with the city on the Wright Park project and the Parks and Recs department. Thank you.
Mike Sanchez.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing this evening? I have a short message here for you. Good evening, Council, Mayor Guerrero, Chief Strange, and staff. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak in front of you here tonight. I'm here to request assistance and bring attention to issues that are concerning the Washington and the Broderick neighborhood. Specifically, I'm referring to the Riverwalk near the Ziggurat in Calsters, the boat launch at West Sacramento, in addition to the new expansion on the Riverwalk from the Calsters area to the boat launch. I was really excited to see a social media post where staff was celebrating the opening of that new post, riding scooters and enjoying it. Really cool to see that. I'm here to say that that image has changed and that area needs some attention and some love. I've seen the following things. I use this pathway every day to and from work. I live about 50 yards from the entrance to the boat ramp. I'm seeing the following things: open drug use, sale, paraphernalia, illegal camping. A lot of the neighbors, we've called them weekenders because they show up on Thursday and they're drag out by Monday. They come with cars, loud music, campfires. There are people that are not there, and I don't think they're necessarily part of an unhoused population. That's why I'm kind of dubbing it with that term. unleashed aggressive dogs. Recently, I was told because I was entering their territory, that's why the dog was being aggressive on a public walkway. Discharging firearms, cars racing and driving recklessly on the levee and boat launch. Aggressive disturbances and encounters. Last week, I was verbally harassed by a man on my walk home in his undergarment. I'm a hard target. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about if it were my wife or an elderly person or someone who is not capable. This recent Monday on a walk, I witnessed 4 middle-aged men at their campsite in the middle of the boat launch parking lot catcall and harass a young lady jogging. The look on her face is appalling, and that's what's bringing me here tonight. This behavior it only multiplies on the weekends I'd mentioned from Thursday to Monday. The boat launch and new extension is flooded with weekenders who set up camp, drink, play music, use and sell drugs, carry out other illegal activities in what we're starting to call a blind spot. This activity almost always spills into the neighborhoods, and we're left with aggressive, irritated individuals causing disturbances, intrusions, garbage, needles, and human waste. I don't want this corner of town to turn into a blind spot. I know West Sacramento has plans to either refresh and revisit some artwork in the area, and we can't build community, encourage art and culture in a region that's unsafe. And so I'm just asking for some attention, maybe a patrol, an increase in patrol, and look at this area and enforce the laws that are already in place. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Manuel Castro? Oh, go ahead. Does Isla Castro want to go? Okay, so moral support.
Regular?
Please don't take our softball field for the 200 girls, including us. Let's go West Sac girls softball. Play ball.
And we'll wait for the clerk to call you.
Yeah.
So, did you want to go ahead and call Manuel?
Manuel Castro?
Sure. All right. Good evening. 3 things regarding Alice Norman softball fields from the last month. Number 1, consider Alice Norman softball fields while designing Bright Park. Why? Because it's going to be shared facilities. One of the most important ones is the parking lot. I think the current plan has the parking lot in the far corner of Bright Park, when really it should be in the center between Alice Norman and Bright Park. That way they can use that shared facility. During our last tournament, we had over 600 guests. We had to rent out 2 different parking lots from Washington Unified School District, as well as get a parking lot from Holy Names Cross, in addition to our parking lot plus the street parking. That shouldn't have to happen. Second thing, consider the financial benefits of having a softball complex. For example, Roseville just hosted Western Nationals, which was only 20 teams. We hosted 12. They generated $1.25 million for the city. That was for hotels, gas stations, restaurants, local businesses. This is how we keep restaurants alive. You bring people in to visit our city for events, and then they go and spend money. Number 3, refine the process that it takes for people like me, community members, to submit feedback to you. So during the last city council meeting, you might have thought that I just came here off the cuff, like ruining somebody's moment to approve a plan, and it wasn't. I've been working since January on issues on city requests regarding Alice Norman Fields. Parents contact me and say, hey, do you mind sharing this information with the city? And I'm like, sure. We were working with the field maintenance folks since January on small issues to big issues. Some of the small issues were addressed, which was awesome. Some of the other ones weren't. The big ones are like, sorry, we don't have money for that. So I've been doing that for a while. And then 6 months after that, somebody said, hey, you should go to the Park and Recs meeting because they're going to take away, or they're going to convert one of the softball fields to an adult baseball field. And I said, huh? I said, look at this plan. So I went to the Park and Rec meeting. So I go there and Jay presented his plan, the latest one. And then I said, oh, okay, cool. And then so after that, I gave my feedback. And I said, hey, look, you forgot Alice Norman softball fields, which was in the original plan. I said, that's number 1. Number two, here's a list of all the issues that we're facing at the Alice Norman softball fields, which was very similar to the ones at West Sac Little League. Number three, the biggest issue was it ignored a key demographic, which was the girls of West Sacramento. And I told them that might be a potential violation of the Fair Play Act. So you might want to rethink the design a little bit, factor in the girls. We don't need a whole lot, but we do need some investment in those fields. So then after that meeting, the Parks and Rec said, hey, don't worry about it. We got 2 more meetings. We're going to get some more feedback and some redesign. Said, okay, cool. Well, then about a month later, I get a contact and said, hey, you need to go to the city council meeting. I was like, what for? They're going to approve the plan. I was like, what plan? We haven't had the 2 meetings yet. Here we go. So that was last meeting. So I was trying to remember all the things that I said during the previous Parks and Rec meeting. And so that was a big frustration for my part because I'm trying to do the right process by following through with field maintenance. Somehow I had to personally escalate it to Park and Rec, then I had to escalate it to city council. Something's broken there. So there needs to be some process that we all understand. That way we give you information, that way you can make good decisions based on community feedback. Thank you.
Danny Langford.
In looking at the agenda tonight for tonight's meeting, I was a little surprised, number one, that the closed session information wasn't on the agenda, and I didn't see it even in the back or anything, so that surprised me because I thought that was supposed to be part of the agenda. Also, I'm a little shocked that 6 months worth of minutes are coming to you tonight. Number one, how can you reflect on those minutes and see that they're accurate? Number two, I don't see how they're accurate when they have no public comment, none of your comments in it. I sat down and read them before you guys came out of closed session. How is that accurate? That is not an accurate reflection of the meetings as minutes are supposed to be. Also, we can't rely on having video backup for the meetings because half the time the feed isn't working when people are trying to watch or go back to it. So it's just very concerning to me. I know personally what the April 5th meeting was because I was there. 2 days before I left for a 25-day trip out of town, I came to 2 meetings back to back. And there's not one mention of all of the people that were in this room that came up and spoke about the River Park issue and the general plan zoning issues. Why is it not reflected in the minutes? This is not accurate. Please change that. Thank you.
Robin Davis.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I live in my 160 square foot semi-off-grid tiny home on wheels on my undeveloped residential property here in West Sacramento. I appreciate staff coming up with the informative FAQ regarding the current policy for tiny homes in West Sacramento and for the reminder of the work that still needs to be done to adapt our zoning that continues to reinforce segregation and discrimination in our community. The FAQ states, since a tiny home on wheels is legally considered a vehicle and regulated by the Department of Motor Vehicles, it may only be sited in a manufactured home park, mobile home park, RV park, or campground with sanitation facilities available. This is correct, unless we just simply say otherwise. Tiny homes on wheels should not have to be hidden out of sight just to appease those who still believe the negative superficial stereotypes that this is camping or upscale homelessness, all while homeless numbers continue to rise and more people struggle to have access to affordable housing. The state allows tiny homes on wheels to be used as primary residences or as ADUs in backyards, but as of today, it's been council's choice to not allow more options. So I'm still requesting we have a workshop regarding tiny homes on wheels so we can have more opportunity for input and ideas from residents, but also to educate on the current policy and potential future policy changes. If there has been enough inquiries to even create a frequently asked questions link for people, then we need to have more outlets where people can ask interactive questions to staff and council regarding this. Workshops can be a more efficient way to get input with a more informal setting that allows for more conversation, innovation, and creativity rather at these more formal meetings where we are timed, recorded, and it is difficult to get answers, and then we have to wait for amendments to the presented policy. The people want a say in the policy and what actually gets presented. Please request staff to give the people the opportunity for questions and to allow for answers, which can help the planning department better prepare this ordinance to present to the planning commission and to you. Staff has already expressed disinterest and concerns with tiny homes, so I think it's really important we get resident input before they present anything. Thank you.
Tim Campbell.
Let me get fully comfortable. This is good. Hello, Madam Mayor, City Councilwomen, Aaron, Chief Strange. I appreciate you guys' time tonight. One of my main concerns is I would like to voice some issues going on with the Port Commission, or therefore lack of. I have Oscar Villegas reaching out to me about the Port Commission. I have Mayor Guerrero reaching out to me about the Port Commission, but we are not having any Port Commission meetings. There is a lot of money being given out for grant money, and I'm curious on why we're not in line for some of that grant money for our port and what's going on. A little curious about how the bridge got blocked from coming up for the raised grant. I'm curious on what's happening with the Port Commission. There was a big issue with labor being on the Port Commission, but yet we're having no Port Commission meetings, and we have huge Port Commission issues going on. So I don't really know how to address this. I don't even know if it's proper before the City Council. A side of the City Council only wears one hat. That's the Port Commission and City Council, so I assume this is a Port Commission meeting as well. So I don't really know what to do. I'm reaching out to find out what's going on. That we have issues. I believe there needs to be a workshop put into place with SSA, the Port Commission, and the ILWU to find out what the plan is for the Port Commission, find out what the plan is for the port infrastructure money. We have no idea what's going on with the port. We're still in the same dark as we were before. I don't know what to do. I've asked at the time that City Council reach out. I am a labor leader. I am the president of the ILWU Local 18 Longshore Division, and I have been for 12 years. And aside of two individuals are the only individuals that's reached out to me on what's going on with the Port Commission, although other City Council women who sit on the Port Commission meeting have told me they would reach out to me and let me know, and I've yet to hear from any of them. So I'm curious what's going on. I don't know what to do. So my heart's on my sleeve. I'm asking for help. What do I do? I know nobody can answer that question, but I need help on what's going on with my port. I have a lot of workers that are wondering what's going on with their livelihood. We have no answers. There's no transparency. There's no plan put together. We have this new Port Commission put together, and nothing's happening. What do I tell my rank and file? What do I tell my visitors that are working to help support our port as well? What do I tell these men and women? There's nothing to tell because I have no answers aside of what Martha has reached out to me. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, and what Chairman Villegas has reached out to me on. But there's no, I don't get my 3 pounds of flesh on the Port Commission floor because we have no Port Commission meeting. I think it's a disgrace. I think everybody needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror. That's all I got to say in my minute.
We have no additional requests to speak.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next is our consent agenda, item 2 and 3. I will pull item number 3. And are there any requests to remove any of the other items? Okay, thank you. Well, in pulling item 3, there is a public comment related to that, and I will open it up for public comment again. But I did want to ask just for clarification on why the question that was raised under public comment, which includes why there are no references to like public comments in the minutes. Just for an explanation. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. We do action-only minutes, so our minutes reflect action taken by the city council, but no discussion or what was said during city council meeting.
Is that our direction to you?
That's been the standard practice of the city.
Okay, thank you so much for that
Mayor,
clarification.
may I
Go
ask a
ahead,
question? There's also mention made of the videos that people can't view when they're trying to listen in on the meetings. Do you know what's going on with that?
Our live stream has worked successfully for the last 3 consecutive meetings, so I think all of the issues that we were facing regarding our software have been remedied. We did have a meeting, actually the last 2 consecutive meetings, because we did have a meeting where the internet was down on this floor, if you remember.
So do we have recordings of the meetings before that?
I'm
that
sorry?
people can access? Do we have recordings of the meetings before that that people can access if
Yes,
they're
ma'am, they're all
interested?
available online. And I am currently in the process of uploading all of the board and commission meetings from the city that we have on file, as well as the city council onto the city's YouTube channel. This should be complete by the end of next week.
Okay, and those can be accessed by going to the city website and finding
Yes,
it there?
there are links available on the city website. If the public goes to the top menu, the government menu, there's a link that says meetings and agendas, and you can click through all of the various boards and commissions, and on their pages there are links to where their videos are stored.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. With that, I'll accept, and I'll open it up for public comment. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on this item? 2 or 3?
We have no request to speak on consent agenda items.
Thank you. I'll close the public comment, bring it back for motion.
So moved.
moves.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Early moved and Councilmember Alcala seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Early.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, this is approved. Next is item 4 under the regular agenda. We have no public hearing agenda items, and under our regular agenda, under the city manager's office, is consideration of amended and restated employment agreement for city manager and adoption of resolution 23-63 approving related budget adjustments. And would you like to come up to the podium so we could all see you? 'Cause
Sure.
I could only see your forehead and above. Thank
Good evening. So per the municipal code, the city manager is a position appointed by the council and subject to an employment agreement, which is renegotiated from time to time. The amended and restated employment agreement before you tonight includes changes to the existing city manager agreement, culminating from the performance evaluation that Mr. Laurel completed by the council in closed session in July. Due to this item containing compensation changes for a local agency executive, the Brown Act requires an oral report summarizing the recommended changes prior to the council taking final action on the item. For this agreement, the recommended salary and benefit changes include a 3% salary increase, which results in a base salary of $267,555, and a future salary adjustment equal to any general salary increase percentage that may be provided to the unrepresented employees from August 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, essentially in fiscal year 23-24. As the unrepresented employees have not yet received a general salary increase for fiscal year 23-24, the cost associated with any additional salary increase for the city manager will be calculated and the base salary adjusted at a later date for that piece. Other amendments in the agreement include revisions to Section 2 regarding the term and Section 3B regarding severance, Section 10 regarding the annual physical, and Section 12 regarding annual professional dues. Of these other amendments, the amendment to Section 3B increases the potential compensation that would be due to the city manager if he is terminated for other than cause, but none of these other amendments have a current budget impact. The recommended action is to approve the amended and restated city manager employment agreement and adopt Resolution 2363 approving related budget adjustments. Concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Ms. Berlin. Bring it back to council for questions or comments. Yes, Councilmember Alcala.
So I've had several people call me about this issue. So I'm hoping you can clarify some things. Normally, city managers have contract terms that whether it's 5-year, 3-year term. Why is it that the city doesn't have a contract term?
I'll defer to the city manager, but this is an evergreen contract, so it just goes until it's
If I can
negotiated.
chime in my
Okay.
experience, working with a lot of public agencies, it is unusual to have a term for city managers and general managers. They serve at the pleasure of the board, and so there's not really a reason to have a term. You can fire for whatever reason, that's your choice. So I think just in my experience, it is not common to have it.
So when you say evergreen, you really mean like at will? Is that correct?
At the will of council, yes.
Right, okay, all right. Just clarifying some things that people are asking about, and I want to be real clear. Okay, now, under the analysis, asking for a 3%, that if that's passed, that would become effective when other city employees get their 3%? That
First 3% goes into effect immediately and upon approval, or in the first pay period after approval, and retroactive to July 1st, 2023. And then the other percentage is tied to our unrepresented employees when a salary, whatever salary increase they might get in this fiscal year, that would be also added to the base pay for the city manager.
And I noticed the comparables, Sacramento, Roseville, Vacaville, Grove cities, West Sacramento being at 276, but I didn't see, however, was population. And I went ahead and did a little calculation, went down from West Sacramento, Davis areas, and many of them have populations that well exceed that of West Sacramento. So our manager's salary, even at 268, is considered healthy. So it's not, 268 is not considered, for the population that we have, inadequate. Considered very, very healthy.
The comparator cities that are listed are those that we use for all of our compensation comparators for all of our groups. So it's what we use to benchmark, so not just the city manager. So it's based on other things, not just population, but types of services, like size of the actual organization.
So we're not underpaying our city manager at 268.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that we're underpaying. I think he's right there in the middle. So in order to keep up with the market, just like all of our staff, we look to provide some salary increases periodically.
So let me go ahead and move on over. It's great that we have the budget cost impact. We know where the money would be coming from. Very helpful on page 68. So I think the public will know, if this is approved, that the 3% will be coming from budget and cost. But now I would like to go to the amended and restated employment agreement. I'm going to go to page 70. And I wanted to know why the changes for the date of new city council members who may take an oath changed from 90 to 180 days. Can you explain why that would change? If a new city council were to come in and, let's say, terminate the employment relationship that they have, they would have, rather than the 90 days, they would have, they were more than doubling it to 180 days. Is there a reason for that?
Are you talking about section 2?
Section 2, right.
I just want to make sure, are we going into things that we talked about in closed session, or?
No, this is right here. This is right here in the agreement. I'm trying to clarify it.
Oh, okay, it doesn't explain what it would mean.
No, that's why I'm asking for explanation.
If you'd like, I can chime in with the intent behind that revision. I don't know that it's appropriate for Amanda, given that that was my request, but I'll just tell you that That term has everything to do with the importance of organizational continuity following an election and the seating of a new council. It's very important to me, and hope that it's important to the city council that's sitting today. We have a major agenda ahead of us. We have a lot of items that are of utmost importance to the future of the city. And the last thing I want is for our department directors and our staff to be worried about a change in leadership. And through that process, we want to make sure that we have that continuity established so that we can carry out those objectives after that point. So that's part of it. The other part is for me to be able to work and have a good amount of time to work with a new city council so that you have new council members coming in and things happen during elections. Then there's the move to governance, and that's, as you know about me, it's very important to me to work with governance in mind first, and having a period of time, a good period of time to work with that new city council through some important steps too, like the strategic planning process, potentially a new 2-year budget, is very important to both help them with that transition, but also to help me work with them and hopefully get to a place where, you know, the continuity can continue with that change in leadership. So it's mostly meant for the organizational continuity, but also to give a better transition period for me to work with the new council.
Thank you, Aaron. So maybe this is a question for legal counsel rather than for you, Amanda. I did ask about at-will employees. Is this standard to go from a 3-month to double that?
Well, I will say, first of all, this kind of provision is pretty standard. I don't know any organization that I work with that does not have some sort of termination provision like this. Well, I don't know of many that don't. In terms of the duration, it is quite common to be in excess of 6 months. I can't speak to the large universe as to whether 12 months, I don't think 12 months is excessive. I have certainly seen 12 months. Right, in terms of the cooling off period, the duration of that is really up to the conversation between you and your city manager, but you know, a period of this length is not something unusual from what I've seen.
I guess my concern is if a new council comes in, they may feel that their hands are tied in having an opportunity maybe to bring someone new in with a new direction. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that when I see these provisions made in there, it's ringing bells for me. I'd hate to tie someone's hands like that.
I mean,
what we've done.
To do it from my perspective, it does not alter your ability to fire for cause. And cause could include direction given which the manager refuses to carry out. So, I mean, there are circumstances under which you could dismiss someone for cause, but the idea of these provisions is to get past that initial period of time and to allow for a transition period, particularly in cases when you've got a change in the council makeup. It is, I mean, many agencies, most agencies think there is value to continuity and to having a period of time to bridge that change when there's a lot of uncertainty that may be going on. So it is a policy call on your part. Legally, I don't have an opinion one way or the other as to whether or not it's a good idea. I just will tell you that it is not uncommon.
All right, so then I want to go to, let's see. I want to go to Section A of Section 2, where once again we are increasing the lump sum cash payment from 6 to 12 months aggregate salary.
Are you talking about
I'm
section 3?
sorry, it's section 2, and this is, right, 3, right, I'm sorry, Section 2? 3. Oh, Section 3.
Section 3A.
I have my notes
yes.
written on top of that, thank you. Section 3A. So, in terms of money, we're looking at, what, 268,000. In 6 months, that would be a salary of, what, 130,000? Let's assume that there was a termination of the relationship with the city manager, any city manager at this point, right? Or how are we doing this? You also mentioned that we were going to be doing a, I believe, what was the term you used? You said we periodically do this. How often do we do this before we address the next question I have? How often do we change terms?
It's
On
usually,
contracts.
there's an annual review for the city manager, and that's when this is discussed, and.
So an annual review, we sort of relate, we go over his performance, but that's different. I guess what I'm asking is, in terms of changing this, I mean, what's the last time this was done?
The last time
That the terms and the, right.
was in.
What is it? The amended.
I think I can
reinstated
answer that because I was here.
employment
We did it last year.
Yeah.
So
it's
it's supposed to,
Alright.
the evaluation's supposed to happen annually. And again, only because my first year was last year.
Okay.
I know we negotiated the terms last year as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm unsure of what exactly I'm allowed to say in that was discussed in closed session versus this.
You could,
I can ask just about anything?
This is here.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
You could, that's fine.
Right.
I'm unsure. I'm like,
And-
am I allowed to ask that? When am I allowed to
And
ask?
Councilwoman Early, some of these are rhetorical questions because
Oh.
I'm, right.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
I didn't know
I
it was
appreciate-
rhetorical.
I appreciate that I have questions asked for me, and these are things that I want to clarify. Thank you. Okay, where was I? Section 3. So I just wanted to mention that, I mean, that 12 months brings it to what, trying to see the salary here, about to, what, 273,000 if that occurs, is that correct? I mean, that would be,
Correct.
and how would that be paid? I mean,
Severance is usually paid in a lump sum.
lump sum, so it'd be 273,000 lump sum.
And does that lump sum include the COBRA?
That would be on top of it. The medical, continuing medical would be on top of the base salary that would be paid out.
On top of that,
On lump sum. I mean,
on top of the lump sum of the salary.
I think it's been really generous. I realize that's how people recruit, but, the average worker usually gets 1 or 2 weeks for every year they've worked the severance. So I'm comparing that as well. And there, in the contract, and if that, if the contract, at-will contract terminated for any reason, Mr. Laurel would have return rights to his old job?
No.
If he so wished?
No, there's nothing in the contract that talks about return rights.
Okay. All right. Well, those are the questions that I have. Thank you.
Questions? I just have one question. So, as a city manager, I do recall that he has his role and responsibility as port CEO, and I think we review that in his performance evaluation, port CEO role as well as this. And the amount that's contributed to his salary is from the port as well, correct? That's what I saw in the breakdown.
Yes, a portion.
Okay, good. All right. And that's going to contribute to my remarks in the end. Thank you so much. Just want to make sure. Okay, and no other questions? Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk, we'll open it up to public comment.
Pat Flint.
I can't hear you, Pat. I can't hear you. Is it off? I think it's off. Just turn on the mic, which is at the, there you,
Off.
there you go. You're on
Okay.
now.
Sorry about that. I'd like to know why these changes are happening now and why they were not included in the city manager's contracts when it was last renewed or reviewed. Are these industry standards that we're changing these to? I think it's a sweet deal. And are all the other city managers getting this sweet deal also, like the fire chief and the police chief? Are their contracts going to be amended as well? Do they even have contracts? I haven't seen one, but I haven't been looking lately. As for the medical expenses, I don't know of any employer that gives a whole year of paid medical expenses to anybody. Now, I've been out of the industry for a while, so I may be wrong. Everybody reverts to COBRA, and COBRA's expensive. A lot of families, if you lay off a city employee, can't even afford the COBRA standard medical payments. So I'd like that reviewed. It's taxpayers' money that we're using here. A year to a year and a half severance pay is a lot of taxpayer money that could be used on something that's needed by this city. You'll be paying the city manager for a whole year. That means if you hire another city manager, we'll be paying 2 city managers and 2 assistant city managers. An assistant city manager should be able to step up if the city manager should leave or be terminated. So I don't see that there's going to be any disruption in the management system at all. Which brings me to if and when a new city manager is to be hired, that you include citizens or residents of West Sacramento on that committee and the interview committee. It's only right that we have a view and a say as to who we hire to manage our city. Because right now, it's not looking good out there for people, residents. Our city's a mess. And I hate to say that because I love this city dearly. It's important to me that we provide for our heirs that are coming up. I have sons and I have grandchildren that all live in West Sacramento. I'm proud of this city. I want them to be proud of this city. And I want to say that I hope whatever way this turns out, that you all consider that the residents here have a say, the taxpayers have a say. You represent us, not the city manager, not anybody else, not developers. You represent the citizens of West Sacramento. Thank you.
Bob Shabert.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, I had a chance to glance at the language regarding this severance package today. And a question kind of jumped out at me. Are city employees who are contractually entitled to a severance package given a severance package if they are terminated or resigned due to a criminal investigation or criminal indictment because of conduct within the course and scope of their employment? My only question. Thank you.
Whoops, Ashley McCarthy.
Hello, Mayor and City Councilwoman. I have quite a few questions, as you guys have seen me in here for a while now. First and foremost, when it comes to giving anybody a raise when they're not doing every part of the job that they should be doing, makes no sense to me. If you are as the port CEO, but you're not looking into the grants, rather you're neglecting grants that are specific for something that only we have. It's us in Stockton. We're the only 2 that have an inland port. But you're not going after the grants that really can only go to 1 or 2 places. Guess who's getting them? Not the one not going after them. And if that's part of the job, I don't understand why that's not being filled, because if all your attention is being placed somewhere else and you're not filling the roles you're supposed to fill, then maybe you shouldn't be doing everything that you've been putting your hands into. Also, whenever you guys do get a little antsy about what you're supposed to say up there and not supposed to say up there, it doesn't make any sense when it comes to somebody's salary that I'm paying as a taxpayer. It does make me kind of like, what's being hidden? If my dollars are helping pay him, and if he gets fired, his severance, which I don't have lined up for me. I don't know how good your guys is going to be if you guys get fired. But that kind of doesn't make any sense that we're going to pay you for a year of work you're not doing. Sorry. And this was really heavy on the if you get fired language. I was taught and I was raised, if you get fired, you put your boots back on and you go find another job, because you should be doing well enough that you don't get fired in the first place. And if not, put your boots on, go find the next thing you're supposed to be doing. I just hope that you guys really all do take into consideration us, the town members and everything, because it does, the way you guys vote on things like this and what you're willing to give people when they're no longer in a position makes us think when we're voting again, who we're voting for. Because it falls down to if you're willing to give somebody a year's worth of medical, which again, I don't have, half of us don't have, a year's worth of pay that none of us are guaranteed in this room. When we go to vote, we're like, well, if they're handing it out to one person, how many more people is it going to get handed out to when we're all struggling in this town? So all I ask is, if any of this goes through, none of it goes through, please do the job that you have, all the jobs that you have, each hat you put on when you sign up for a committee or anything. If you're falling in one place, that means you're not doing the complete job you signed up for. So I don't believe you deserve everything that you want when it comes to the end. Thank you.
Danny Langford. We have no additional comments for this item.
Question for Matt. Sure, we'll bring it back. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Closing the public comment, bringing it back to council.
I did have one more question for Amanda. So when we're voting on this, Amanda, do we have to vote for the entire recommendation? Our city manager has asked for certain concessions I'm not comfortable with. That has no reflection on what I believe his performance is. Do we have to vote on the entire, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not comfortable with these new asks our city manager has.
Yes, the recommended action is to approve the amended agreement as attached to the staff report, so with all the amendments that are included.
All right, thank you.
Given that it's one agreement, I do recommend that we maintain the document in its entirety.
I understand, Mayor.
And your vote either. If
It's just the
you have a
performance.
preference on one or the other and just express
Yeah.
your preference,
Well,
you
my
can do that.
preference is, I mean, performance is one thing, but I have problems with the new terms. Just because you ask doesn't mean you should get. So that's what I guess my problem is with the new terms of the agreement. The others were fine before for Mr. Laurel, and he was comfortable with them. And now this has changed. I don't know why. So I myself will not be voting on those amendments. In favor of them, I should say. And Aaron, I hope you're not going anywhere. I know you said you really want to stay here, and that's fine. I think, that's completely different than what I'm saying. The terms were fine before, and I feel it's irresponsible for me to make this kind of a fiscal commitment when I've had a lot of people calling me about this. So that's why I asked whether we could vote separately on these items.
Well, let me put it this way. There will be a motion, so someone will make a motion. It may be a move the recommended action. It could be to approve the contract as written with a change. That is within the power of the person who makes a motion. So if you wanted to move the recommended action, but to make a change to one of the terms, you could certainly propose that as your motion.
Would it be appropriate right now, Mayor, to do that, to make it an amendment to? Oh, yeah. go ahead.
We would like to continue to discuss, yes. That is, the feedback from the city attorney
Okay.
is to make a recommended motion with an amended contract, which is, like he said, our privilege. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. City Attorney. And I will open it up for additional feedback or thoughts from my colleagues. Yes, Councilmember Early.
I have just a couple of clarifying questions that I think should be just made clear. You can consider them rhetorical, but I just want to make sure we're all clear on it. One is, if there was some sort of criminal behavior, negligence, or there was cause, Are we able to?
Yeah, that is a carve-out in the contract.
Okay,
That is
so-
a carve-out required by state law, and it is contained in the contract.
And I just want to be clear on that. And so it would be fired for cause and no severance.
Correct.
Okay, I would hate for us to not be clear. because-
You would owe whatever unpaid time he had under his contract. but
Like vacation
not-
or
no
things like
severance
that, right?
package.
Yes, but none of the severance package.
Correct.
And so if, to the point that I think you made earlier, if a new city council were to come up here, all new members, and they had some cause, right? So not like, hey, I don't like the cut of your jib, nothing like that, right? But something along the lines of a direction wasn't taken, or again, some sort of negligence happened, then that city council at that time, and it could be all new members, could let our city manager go, because that would be for cause, correct?
Right. You've got section 3C, which defines for cause as conviction of a felony or other crime involving moral turpitude, fraud, material dishonesty, willful or persistent failure to carry out employees' duties, gross negligence or misconducts, unlawful discrimination or harassment, death or disability, civil liability of a violation of a statute constituting misconduct in office. So I do want to be clear, it's not like the council tells the city manager one thing and the city manager doesn't execute it immediately.
Gosh, sir, that makes sense. That's for most jobs,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so I do appreciate, because we heard that, and I want to make sure that we're really clear on that. Some of the other things that we heard was in regards to the comps. And so we have Davis, we have Roseville, we have Sacramento, and some of those other comps. What I thought was really important that our mayor brought up was the fact that our city manager actually is over West Safeco, those are our levies, is over the CEO of our port, and is CEO of the city. And so really is wearing multiple hats to really protect our city, and to do his due diligence. I also heard, and so one of the things that I was doing, as not only I was hearing public comment, but hearing some of the questions, is I was looking at staff. I was looking at your faces. I was looking at our chief. I was looking at you all, because one of the other things that we do know is that our leadership staff really respects Aaron and is here because of him. And I know that. I'm really clear on that. And that you all have stayed around a very long time, despite the fact leadership around the region has recycled and changed, that the majority of the leadership here in our city has stayed 6 years, which if you are running an organization at all, you know is really unheard of during these past few years, where turnover has been ridiculous, not only at lower levels, but also higher levels. And so I appreciate the assumption that that our city manager would stay. I appreciate the assumption that the comps are equivalent when we know that they're not, because there's multiple high-level, complex responsibilities that are happening with our CEO, our city manager. And I also appreciate the assumption that leadership would stay if our city manager left, but that is a really big assumption, because if you pay attention to what happens when your high-level leadership changes across the region, across most agencies, the leadership that was right under them goes as well. And that's just a reality of running a large organization. And maybe we would be okay with that. Maybe the new city council would be okay with that. The current city council would not be okay with that. And there is, and I'll speak for myself, I would not be okay with that. There is a lot of work that we have ahead of us. There are a lot of priorities in regards to our public works, in regards to our public safety, in regards to just our infrastructure overall, that we need to see happen, and we need to see happen now. And that requires continuity, that requires the leadership not only from our city manager, but also the leadership from you all. There's only so many ways that we can incentivize our leadership to say we can't compete with salaries. The 3% is not even taking into account that we have a port that is being run by our city manager as well as with Safeco. There are 3 jobs that are happening right now, and that's just the reality, whether we appreciate it or not. There are only so many ways that we can incentivize our staff. I hope that this goes through. I certainly will be motioning to move this forward. I appreciate the staff. I appreciate our city manager. This is an indication of how much we appreciate you. And again, we may not be able to incentivize and compensate in the same way that Sacramento or some of our larger cities that surround us can. And I also hope that we exercise the same innovation and creativity when thinking through how to incentivize our public safety and our other recruitment tools.
Councilmember Early, anybody else would like to speak?
Yeah, I'm happy
Councilmember
to.
Sapizio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our city manager is a very important role in our city. They're responsible for executing city council's vision, and ultimately they are the CEO of a $150 million organization overseeing 424 employees. Additionally, as Councilmember Early said, they oversee the West Sacramento Flood Control Agency, which is a multi-million-dollar levee system, which protects all of us and our families from the island that we live on. And as was mentioned, also the CEO of the port, largest landover in the city and a huge operation. We do have a major agenda ahead of us. We met in February and in our strategic planning and set the direction, which you can see on the wall. We need loyalty, we need longevity, and we need an expert in this field to continue moving us forward. And Aaron is that person, and he's not the average worker. He has over 20 years of experience, with 15 of them being in West Sacramento. He's recognized statewide as a leader in his field and is an expert in infrastructure, real estate, business attraction, and affordable housing. He developed the state's first EIFD, which now offers cities in California a new tax increment financing tool for cities and counties post-redevelopment, which has been a game changer, which is something I could not have done, no one in this room could have done, nobody else in the state. Aaron is a leader in this field. He's built an incredible team of department heads who have brought wonderful staff in who are executing our vision. Many of them are in this room today, and I do support the updated contract. And I would like to just add one other thing. For those who are concerned about the rest of our employees, please come back to the meeting on August 16th. Making sure that our employees are taken care of and valued for their commitment to our city is not only important to me, but I believe the rest of the council as well.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
As the only sitting city council member on this dais that had the opportunity to serve under a prior city manager and sit on the interview committee for our replacement for Marty Tuttle, I got to say that we put our we put the notice out there, and we shared it far and wide in order to attract the most talent to our mighty little city, the one that we wanted to invest. We interviewed several very remarkable, very intelligent, very skilled candidates. And when Aaron walked in, it was a game changer. Not to share too much, but I will say that it's widely recognized that Aaron Laurel is a standout, an outlier, someone who is, as one of our chiefs today even said, very special. I'm not going to go into his long resume. I will make a correction. It's been 18.5 years, Councilmember Sulpicio, that he has worked through the ranks and eventually sat at a table where he interviewed and expressed his interest in taking the helm and leading our city forward and carrying forth our priorities as a council, however we change. And I've watched since 2016 all of the incredible changes that we've moved forth, whether it's the larger scale unsexy projects like decommissioning the riverfront, to investing in a new courtyard, to right now what we have going with the 5th Street widening project so that my kids can ride their bikes across our city, and also kids can be connected from the north side to the south side through the Sycamore Trail overpass. I think about the best interest of our city when I think about this decision, because I think this does impact all 55,000. I get it. We're looking at one employee and we see this dollar, tag, and we say, oh my goodness, that is exorbitant. But when we're talking about it in its proper context, we got to think about the fact that this would just move our city manager from what he currently is at number 7 to number 6 in the region of 12 different municipalities that we're looking at here. 3% is pretty much commensurate with everything we've done for every other employee in our city. It just so happens that we have to have one person that we're looking at right now under a microscope, and like my colleague mentioned, let's please come back in August, because we are going to be talking about the rest of the city and the packages that we approve as a council. But I will say that, in my years of serving the city, I can go to DC, I could go to Washington or San Diego. Anytime I bump into another city manager, they remark about how fortunate we are in West Sacramento to have such a talented individual leading us forward. And I will say that during COVID, I don't know that Aaron Laurel got any rest. He was probably the hardest working person in the city. Answering to 5 different council members, answering to this entire city of department heads and employees who all look to him for direction. The reason that, I also, this is an important point, we paid our previous city manager a salary just like this. When Aaron Laurel started, we started him very low. We said, you have to earn it. You have to come back and ask, and essentially we approve it. And once we see what you got, we'll make that decision for you, and that's what we're doing today. He didn't ask before. I am absolutely comfortable with this request. I know in its context and its isolation on a city council meeting, it appears to be magnified. However, given the context of the years where, that no similar asks have been made, and when we think about the context under which he might be situated in different circumstances, and the continuity of our staff and what they need in a leader, I think it's absolutely fair. And I also got to make a closing point. Aaron Laurel invested several months in increasing our capacity of the general fund so that way we could invest in our employees, our public safety employees, fire, police, making sure that we paid down our debt so that way we can increase our ability to do more things in our city. That's right. We did. And if anybody would ever like to talk about that, I know he's an open book. He talks to our constituents directly in order to explain that in lay terms, if need be, so that way everybody can have access and understand. So I respect that. And for that reason, I'm in approval of this item.
Again? Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Orozco. So just wanted to summarize some key points here on the provisions in this contract. The revised contract includes a 3% increase, and it clearly described in the analysis in the comparison among the other cities. I did look at the population size of the cities. We do rank last among the population size. However, Mr. Aaron Laurel has a lot of experience in comparison to some of the other cities that they have not benefited from, like the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. He does also run a port, and so there's other components among his role as city manager that it's really, really difficult to compare it, from one city to the other. But I do know in comparison to size, for example, Sacramento, they have 528,000. As far as a population size, it's pretty significant. Roseville, 154, Vacaville, 102, Elk Grove, 177, and Woodland kind of comes close to 61,000. And then down below, everybody else is still larger. And I know that being a city manager, especially during COVID, has been very challenging for all of them. Nobody expected to go through what we went through. It also includes an extended cooling off period under the new city council, under section 2, for the term from 3 months to 6 months. And although I didn't ask for a chart at the time when we had this discussion in closed session, Just in fairness, we had a chance to review this contract and his performance evaluation at the same time. We had to do both in closed session. And we received it, I think, 2 days before we had the discussion. So to be able to digest something when we all have like full-time jobs and tossing around, juggling what's going on, sometimes these questions do come up here publicly. And we do have, you know, Aaron and I had a lot of going back and forth to get some clarification on things. So this cooling off period, in my understanding, would allow the city manager to work with the new council, provides for that transition and that stability as part of the process. If there seems to be a good working relationship, a fairness in allowing for him to have that opportunity. And so that is the rationale behind that, from what I understand. And that's, you know, there are cities that have a cooling off period. And Aaron, you know, chose to extend it for 6 months. Do I see that as necessary? I don't see that as necessary. I think that 3 months is fairly good. Extending it to 6, you know, he may feel like knowing everything that's going on, that was his discretion to choose, you know, to extend it to 6 months. And in addition to the additional pay increase, which is included in, going to be included in the unrepresented in our next city council meeting. We can't share any of those details today, but because they still need to be detailed out. That will be in addition to the 3% that is included in this contract. So once that agenda is released, you can add that percentage to this 3%. And just wanted to make sure that they're not in transparency, that is for you to be aware of. The severance pay, which will be a lump sum from 6 months in his last contract to 12 months of pay, and COBRA covered healthcare benefits. Now, I am concerned, you know, for a city manager, if we chose to, you know, terminate, he is at will, his employment. And I do feel, you know, there is a need to provide some support for a city manager because he's, you know, supporting his family. He's giving up a lot of who he is and all of his expertise. He doesn't have time to go roaming around looking for another job. So I would have been interested in a monthly until he found an opportunity. And then from there, you know, have some level of discretion to cover the difference of what that 12 months would be through, you know, in his transition. But that's not an option here in this discussion. We have the contract as we have right now. So for me, there is no precedent for the 6 months, but I do understand that, given the recent scrutiny by the public, given that, you know, there's really concerns. I hear a lot about the city falling apart or whatever. But there is a lot that the city manager has done, and would like for him to have the opportunity to explain his accomplishments to the new council member under the new leadership who will seek changes. And so that allows for that opportunity to have a reality check. However, a contract is a contract, and if I was only in agreement with 3 months, 6 months is still included. So I do have to take that into consideration. Now, offering the additional 6 months of severance is not an option I am willing to support. We are a small city with the tight budget, and we have employees as we look at the healthcare coverage, such as our firefighters who pay thousands of dollars out of pocket to cover themselves and their family, which is cutting into their monthly paychecks. And all of our first responders pay into their health insurance coverage. And I would like to close that gap, such as what we are doing with the city manager. In addition, obtaining coverage for our emergency response, such as our firefighters, when we're taking a look at prioritizing where our funding is going to, our firefighters are still battling what's going on out there in the community, larger community, with the same coverage that they've had for, you know, the last, 15 years. And I've been told that's expensive but I think it should be a priority to ensure our growing community is protected. But I've not found that to be prioritized. And protecting the health and well-being of our firefighters, including through a basic annual cancer screening, which gives them, an evaluation of the toxins they're now being exposed to frequently is a priority for me. And so these are the type of things that I'd like to see included in other employee services and support. So, I like to seek to bridge the gaps for employee retention here as we are discussing preserving Mr. Aaron Laurel and all of our staff. I'd like to make sure that we do continue to make sure that we don't have first responders leaving for other jurisdictions and also other employees, that this be a training ground for them to, learn what they do here and then leave us for other jurisdictions who are going to pay them better and provide better health insurance coverage. Now, focusing on our city manager separately and apart from all of that, he has fulfilled some of the priorities I have requested when I first came on council, which is to address homelessness. And our homeless count early on, I think in 2019, was 85. And he, through the support of very good staff, housed them all. Housed, more than 85. It was about 200 he was able to house. That's because of his wealth of experience that he's achieved. If you sit next to him and listen to his understanding of what's going on in the city on real estate and, all the different financing options and, just architecture and things like that, I can see that he's incorporated our vision, our council's vision on what that looks like for the future here. It's not just Aaron, it's our vision. And that is something that I have been, looking at when we received in our last strategic planning retreat, taking a look at addressing the infrastructure and the lack of support that our infrastructure has had over the years, the funding, financing that in the future. That's something Mr. Aaron Laurel and the entire staff have put together as a team. Again, fire department was not included. I want to see them included with the new fire engine. I'm still going to continue to mention that until long as we can, just always throw it in there, because I think everything needs, our entire infrastructure needs to be included. But I did see that there were other areas, our parks and rec are continuing to grow in acreage, and Department of Public Works has more streets to fix, and we just have like storms and heat and everything. We're asking a lot more from our staff when we need to shelter people from terrible rain and, very hot conditions, and then just trying to protect the people that are just unsheltered, find them shelter. And I know our police department has done a lot of incredible work in addressing homelessness, and I just greatly appreciate what we've done and what we're going to continue to do to help them. And that's all under the leadership of Mr. Aaron Laurel and his support for each department and our backup for him to be able to do that. So that's just skimming the top of what Mr. Aaron Laurel has been able to do and his expertise and the things that Mayor Protem Orozco said. When we're out there, everybody will compliment him and explain that we've done some good work. Our riverfront is the area that I've heard described, and the fact that we're pro-housing citywide, and we need to do more. We need to do more. That's what we're working on. However, I'm new to the Port Commission, so that's why I mentioned the Port Commission. And I am going to continue to learn about what's going to be going on with the Port Commission deals and would like to understand past port deals better. To add that this contract overlaps with his oversight in the port, I'm going to not affiliate my comments to the components of his authority overseeing the port. I just want to make that clarification. I would like to spend more time understanding the history of past port transactions in my new role as Port Commission and work more closely with SSA Marine and the longshoremen as we continue our partnership for successful port operations in the future, including flood protection planning, future sales of port property, and the Enterprise Bridge project. We did, as part of a port, request for a grant for the Enterprise Bridge project, and that was probably the one grant, and I do agree with the comment by the longshoremen to take a look at other grant opportunities that I felt we did miss out on when I saw all those grants produced. I am the one who signs letters and requesting grant funding, and I did not see any float by me, and I apologize for that. And will continue to work with the longshoremen and SSA Marine to see what we can do to address that and work with our congressional partners to make sure that happens and find out what we can work together as a Port Commission. That's why I reached out to you and SSA Marine, because once that was released, I thought we missed out on something. Okay? So I'd like to provide more transparency through the Port Commission appointments. That was met with some strong resistance when I was trying to provide a balance on the Port Commission. And I think that was, a bit of a rub for me with the city manager, in that I felt like there was a way in through the confidential memo to mainly have city council members, where I think that we disagreed. And I have, like I've heard tonight, many complaints about the city, potholes causing car damage and rejected claims, and I've tried to get more information about the status, which is still pending after my request since I sent it April. So I would like to get this addressed as soon as possible, along with the repair work done throughout the city. So with that, I just wanted to summarize a little bit of some thoughts that I've had in reflecting on our city manager, and also including, they're all tied together, city staff and all the work that's done together. It's like a family. You all are tight-knit, and I value and appreciate that. Although I do have those couple of provisions that I've had a little bit of difficulty, and will not be able to support the contract as is. So with that, I'll accept a motion.
Early moves to approve.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk. Councilmember Early moved and Mayor Pro Tem Orozco seconded.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Early.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
No. Right. With that, this is approved. Congratulations, Mr. Aaron Laurel. Next are, I think we have council appointments, or is it? What's next? Under our general administration function, we have reports from our council assignments. No? Any council?
One quick report, Mayor. It's the LAFCO report. Second. Very short.
Okay.
So at the YOLO LAFCO meeting of July 27th, we adopted a review of the Woodland and Davis Clean Water Agency findings and the GPA in good standing. We also approved the Woodland Extended Water and Sewer Services to a parcel in the city's sphere of influence for environmental reasons. And this fiscal year, LAFCO will be reviewing the 13 flood control districts. So that's of particular interest to us here in West Sacramento. That's all.
Okay, I have a quick update on our YOLO City County 2x2 meeting, July 25th. And we reviewed the homeless report provided by Nolan Sullivan, just some key highlights. Unfortunately, we do see an increase in 2022 from the last count of about 284 people in West Sacramento experiencing homelessness. However, the number that is unsheltered is 99. That's the same number that was unsheltered in 2019. And, we do have our situation, a few situations that are contributing to that. And so we're taking a look at how we can address that and continue to provide the support for the, our homeless population. In addition, we had a discussion about the Yolo County Community Health Assessment Executive Summary that was shared. And there was a very helpful, I think this was Councilmember earlier, very much into data. I'll just toss this your way. So, I will say that this data does reveal that there are some concerns in our community as it relates to housing, health, and food. Just the concerns are something that we need to fold into and blend into more county access to services. And I had made some recommendations to fold that into, such as our football clinic, that we have Viola County standing out there expressing what resources are available, mental health services, things like that. I think there's some overlap in, some of the support that, not only that, but maybe the home run program or other departmental services, Parks and Rec, for example, when they're doing youth activities, that we partner more closely with the county on access to resources so that we can reduce the gap. I think I found that to be one of the challenges in county deliveries, that not everybody's going to go to the social services department and find out what resources are there for them, that we do need to go out of the street where the families and youth are and bridge that connection for them. And I think that's something that we can do a little more work on as a partnership. I'm just going to toss that over to Kimberly. And I think that was the key discussion. We had a lengthy conversation about that. So that's it. I will go to our next item, which is our council appointments. And we have our EIFD Public Financing Authority. And so we have another packet in front of us. Thank you to our clerk who produced the packet for us of our applicants. And so I did have Mr. Alex Hirsch, who was a recommendation of mine that I produced, and then we have additional applicants that I'm taking a look at. Ms. Angelise Marcigliano is another one that I thought was very good. And those are two of my recommendations. I wanted to check in with my colleagues here to see what their recommendations are.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It has been part of our platform as a council to extend a new eye on these commissions and ensure that we have new and fresh perspectives, as well as a wide range of experiences and encouraging a wider mindset across our city when it comes to addressing the problems that we as a council and we as a community are addressing. And in our previous appointments discussion, we did heavily weigh upon representation throughout our city, and hopefully getting at least some members of each of the districts represented. Even so, two of us on this council, or three rather, represent at large until 2024. I think it's still important for us to keep an eye on where the lens is being represented. And while I think that this packet of candidates is fabulous and very impressive, I am concerned that only one of them represents District 2, and that was, I think, at a request me last meeting, to just extend it one more term, so that way we can perhaps invite more. And it looks like we got a couple more applicants in. With that, I know that the two that were recommended, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe those are both District 4 representatives, which concerns me a bit, because even though they might be fantastic candidates, I would really want to push for a little bit more diversity there, especially considering that District 2 is the one that is least represented on all of the commissions, even more so than District 1. So with that stated, I agree with Mayor's Angelise Marcigliano. I'll have to work on that. But I also wanted to recommend Micah Perez, who is young, and as he self-identifies, he has a lot of new ideas and a fresh perspective on financial planning and initiatives for the city. He is eager to get involved, and I think he lives near West Capitol Avenue, which he has a lot of new ideas on how it is that we can use a commission like a public financing authority to address and learn about and address these types of issues. I'd be excited to invite new talent, especially somebody who is as eager to join one of our commissions and give him an opportunity to represent.
Mayor, I'd like to recommend Mr. Hirsch because he has proven to be an excellent representative of our West Sacramento community. He's been very involved in a lot of the, I believe he served on many commissions, but also other groups out there with the library. He's made presentations here. And Mr. Hirsch is totally about public service. He ran for a city council seat. And I think we want to continue to to encourage that kind of momentum from our citizens. And I think this would be another excellent way of him, even though he's not a city council member, he can continue to serve us in that capacity. So I would really like to recommend Alex Hirsch.
Council members have recommendations?
Can I just clarify?
Sure.
I absolutely agree with Councilmember Alcala that Mr. Hirsch is a very remarkable candidate. He has extensive knowledge in lots of the different aspects of our city. I have respect for the work and the contributions that he's made. I think that what I'm thinking about is several years ago when Madam Mayor took the helm as a leader of our city, and we recreated all of the commissions because we wanted to invite more people to get involved in our city and to invite their perspectives. And that's not to discount anybody who has already been serving, but rather to open the doors to those who are eager to get involved and say thank you for stepping forward. And that's partially what's informing my argument for Mr. Perez. I appreciate that in just a short time being a resident here, jumping in, getting to city council meetings and wanting to get involved and wanting to represent. And I think that we should equally offer these opportunities to as many as we can. That's all.
I just have a quick question because I'm trying to make sure I'm following. And so, Angelise, Marcy Gelano, butchered it, is District 4. Okay. Alex Hirsch is also District 4. Okay, perfect. And then Micah Perez is District 2. Okay, got it. And then we have 2 positions that we are?
2.
Okay, I just want to.
Or any one of us can step back and create a vacancy.
I don't think I'm on this one, right? Okay, so it's not an option for me.
It actually has to be 3 council members plus.
Oh, it has to be 3
Yeah, that's it. That's in the
Alright.
statute. It's
That's in the
three members of the governing
Sorry,
body
I'm
and 2
mistaken.
members
No,
of the
that's
public.
okay. So is there, could we then have Alex Hirsch and then Mr. Micah Perez from District 2, so we would have both?
Sure.
Okay, I would be fine with that.
Second that.
Yes.
Right. Then we'll,
Could I just ask for clarification as to who's on this, on the EI, on the
Sure.
Public Financing Authority?
So when you're a single entity EIFD, one city like we are, the statute requires the board to be made up of 3 members of the governing body, the council, and 2 members of the public,
And
which
Are-
cannot be council members. They have to be members of the public. Sorry.
I know, I mean, it looks like, I just want to make sure, are we concerned about not only geographical diversity, but also gender diversity or anything else of that fact?
May I make a comment?
Sure.
Please, thank you.
council members, I'm sorry, are you done?
Yes,
Member
thank you for
Tamarosa? Okay,
asking.
go ahead.
Oh, thank you,
Councilmember
Madam Mayor.
Successor.
As, the elected representative of District 4, very pleased to see that we had 3 applications from District 4. 1 from District 1, 1 from District 2, 1 from District 3. And so we were at National Night Out last night, and I was able to sit down with the former commissioner and just spoke to how excited I am to see so much engagement in District 4. That also makes us have the difficult decision of so many people in District 4 and making sure that, we're representing our entire community. And another thing that I think is really important is our gender diversity as well. And one of the things I committed to when I ran for office, and I was very clear on, is supporting other women. And so for this, I'd like to be able to look at gender diversity as well. Excuse me, give me one moment to jump to one of our one of our applicants, Angelise. She's a woman, she's a mother, and I would be supportive of her in this role. I'm happy to have a conversation, but agree with Mayor Pro Tem Orozco on new lens and bringing in fresh insight to these commissions. And again, these are short terms. It's actually, I should clarify, is this a 2-year term?
I believe our policy sets it as a 1-year term for the EIFD board. We can verify that, but that's my recollection. These are one-year terms.
We have 3 council members on this currently, right? Is that the current
Yes.
composition? So there
So
are 3
3 women.
females.
You have 3 council members currently
Women.
appointed, and you have 2
So
open
we
public
can
seats.
add more diversity
Right.
besides.
Get
another
some
one.
men in there.
I'm
That's
just
all, I'm
sharing,
just trying to put that.
absolutely, I'm sharing, my desire to support women
I
in
agree.
these types of
That's-
roles.
It's very supportive of women as, I'm not saying I'm not. Okay, so with that.
Might I ask another clarifying question?
Sure.
Is there an opportunity for us to have an alternate on this
an
board?
alternate.
I'll have to defer to the city attorney, because the code itself doesn't include provision of an alternate in the state law, but that's maybe.
Honestly, I'd have to take a look. If you want to go that path, you could go ahead and appoint an alternate with the understanding that that may or may not actually be something that we can do.
Right.
Oh,
Because unfortunately, I just don't know off the top of my
so
head.
to be safe, we just appoint 2 for now, and if we want to appoint an alternate, we can bring it back for,
Certainly could bring it back,
okay.
and I'll look into it.
Can you look at it? And let us
Yeah,
know?
we'll also get clarification on the origin of the one-year term. I know in the past they have been one-year terms, but I know that's not in the state law, so it's just, it could just be something that we've locally adopted, but we'll get you more information on that too. So it might be my recommendation to actually fix that, because it's too short.
I agree. Okay. Yeah, 5-year term maybe, or 4 years, and I don't know. No,
Right.
2 years
2
is
years,
fine.
I think.
2 years would be good, yeah.
Councilwoman Early made a motion, I seconded.
No, I didn't make a
No,
motion.
would
You
like
made the
to make a
motion.
Okay, then I'll make the motion.
You did, yes. She made the motion, and,
Good.
okay, so you're 2,
Hirsch and the,
I'll second.
and 2.
okay, second, okay. So Hirsch and Micah. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Early.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
No.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye, all right. Congratulations to the 2 new appointees to our EIFD. I think this will be new for all of us, right, Mr. Laurel? It's been a while since we've had a
We
meeting.
have, yeah, at one point when we first established DID, we did have a full PFA that had some meetings, but it's been a while since we've had a full board, so,
And,
yes.
oh, I see.
And it's new to the current council, for sure.
And how, as far as next steps for a meeting and,
Yeah, see,
there any
that's the
orientation
thing
for
with this
this?
board, it's not the type of board that is required to have regular meetings, because it really exists for the purpose of when the EIFD is ready for bond issuance, then there are several procedural steps that require their approval. I do know of one immediate need to have some funding shifted from one source to another that currently the EIFD controls, so we will have a meeting fairly soon, but we may not have another meeting following that one for a while. Hence, why we should have a longer than 1-year
I
term.
agree. Yeah, I think you got a lot of people agreeing. Thank you. Council calendar?
No report tonight.
Thank you. City manager report?
No report, thank you.
City attorney report?
No report.
Staff direction from city council members?
I
No? Oh,
did
yes.
have just one thing. I
Sure.
don't know if it would be considered under the calendar. The community schools kickoff, which I know we all got invites to. I just want to.
This Saturday.
It's, so Backpack Drive is this Saturday. Thank you. YCCA is
Yes.
hosting that.
Community schools kickoff.
Mayor Pro Tem Orozco collected backpacks and did a lot of work for that.
Yes,
So big
she did
shout
an
out.
amazing
Yes,
job.
she
And
did.
your kids were adorable.
Thank you. I'll take that compliment. Thank you.
And then next Wednesday, we actually have a couple of things going on. So August 9th, 12 to 3 o'clock, I think it's actually here. ACP is doing Computers for Kids, as well as Valley Vision is doing signups for ACP, which is
Isn't
for
that
internet.
great?
Yes, it's
I've
amazing.
posted that on my
Yes.
Facebook page.
And then you can run over to Riverbank, and community schools launching is happening from, that one's 3 to 6, so there is a little bit of overlap.
Yes.
And I know some of you guys will be going. I hope some of my colleagues will be going as well, if possible.
So how, like, is there an agenda that you can share? Because I don't know if I can make it in the beginning. I want to see what's happening later.
Yes, Washington Unified School District is helping to host that, and so I will make sure they get you all an agenda so you can know if there's like maybe even a good time for you to pop over,
Yeah.
say
Oh,
hi.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes, I got you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, anything else among my colleagues? Okay.
Just one quick thing, Mayor. I saw that they fixed a lot of the potholes on Hobson's. I had
Oh, they
people
did?
calling, and they were
Oh,
really happy, so
yay.
thank you, city, for doing that. They were
Yes.
really happy.
And I would also say, I heard at National Night Out from folks in Bridgeway Lakes area that they felt like Southport was looking better, so Southport Parkway, so I will give you a shout out. I had several people make those comments, and so thank you very much.
That's, well, good. Okay, thank you for all of that from, that feedback from my colleagues. No future agenda item requests in our packet. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay, sorry, Madam Clerk. Mayor Pro Tem Orozco moved and Councilmember Alcala seconded.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Early.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, we are now adjourned. Good night, everybody.